3 p.m. Hope you're all well. We've got quite a packed agenda today, so hopefully we'll try and be as quick as possible. Membership of the Cabinet, we have a full complement of Cabinet members. We've got no apologies, so welcome everybody. Minutes of previous meeting dated the 22nd of September, 20th of October and 23rd of October. Are these okay, members? Can I just have a nod? Yes, thank you very much. If there's any interest, please complete the form. Any of the councillors that are on the call also, if there's any interest, please complete the form and send it electronically to Andrea. Admission of the public, we've got some public who are here watching us, and there's some public who are going to be asking questions, so welcome to you all. We've got no deputations or petitions. Item 6, questions by members of the public. We've got 15 minutes for this item, and I will ask Andrea to read the questions out. First question is from Sarah Newton. Councillor McBride to respond. Andrea, please can you ask the question?
Thanks, Chair. Wicker's carbon emission reduction pathways anticipate the need for vehicle traffic to significantly decrease by 2030, including measures to reduce private car hire by up to 43%. In this context, investing in greater highway capacity is wasteful and short-sighted. Would it not be more sensible to pause schemes which increase private vehicle capacity and instead review them in the context of the climate emergency and policy changes that will be implemented to achieve targets?
Councillor McBride, do you want to respond, please?
Yes, thank you, Sarah. The council needs to shift travel journeys to more suitable modes of travel. The process will be gradual and vehicle movements are likely to increase in the next decade. The existing highway is inadequate to sustain expected growth and will require renewal and maintenance. The means of propulsion will change significantly, but volumes will increase. So we need to respond to both existing and future demands, varying types of vehicles. So this is a response to both the immediate and the longer term requirements, but will still require significant number of vehicles, and thus in turn, the highway needs to be sustained.
Thank you, Councillor Peter McBride. Question 2 from Sarah Newton to Councillor Peter McBride. Andrea, do you want to read the question, please?
When will there be an official statement regarding the decision to redesign the Cooper Bridge road scheme that guarantees the preservation of Nunsbank Woods and the Bradley Quarry Nature Reserve?
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Sarah. With regard to the ancient woodland, it will not be affected. An option which would have so affected the woodland was abandoned in August. Alternatives and appraisal of these options is currently underway, and the outcome of this process will itself be subject to public consultation, which will appraise various different alternatives which are currently being developed. So when we pulled that original scheme, well aware that it was really back to the drawing board, and officers are still in the process of coming up with serious alternatives. And that will be presented both to this committee and subsequently to the public at large.
Thank you, Councillor Peter McBride. Question 3 to Councillor Peter McBride again from Sarah Newton. Andrea, please can you have the question?
Please will the Council consider revising the climate emergency declaration to include the preservation of mature trees alongside the planting of new ones?
I think in one form or another we've answered this question. We have certainly taken account of the reduction of trees, and obviously in this decision regarding this wood, clearly that was a major factor in determining we would not go forward with a scheme which would have taken that wood. And all of our submissions with regard to transport have taken account of change objectives reflected in programmes and plans which are being brought forward. And the one that we've just been talking about is very much a case in point. So if there's a kind of contradiction, then schemes will be reappraised and redeveloped to reflect our overall objectives.
Thank you, Councillor Peter McBride. Question 4 from Sarah Newton to Councillor Walker. Andrea, please, can we have the question?
The tree planting season has just started. Again, there is an absence of actions meeting KMC's claims of contributions to the Northern Forest. When will the council refrain from repeating unsubstantiated claims about tree planting and actually get some Northern Forest trees planted? Will it be in the last months of 2021 or even later?
Right. Okay, thanks very much, Sarah, for this question. I know it's a topic that you're very passionate about, and there is a lot, really, more than can be covered in this answer. I would be quite happy to talk you through all the things that are happening in terms of the White Rose Forest, where we're not only fulfilling our own programme, but we're also hosting leadership of the programme across the whole region, which is now both North Yorkshire and West Yorkshire. The council is fully committed to its White Rose Forest targets and is in the process of this year arranging for the planting of 18 hectares of trees, which is about 14,000 trees. And this is in addition to the 19,000 trees that have already been planted in this calendar year. The process of large-scale tree planting is not simple. It requires multiple permissions, even if the land is available. Officers have been working very hard on this, identifying council land that can be made available and working to ensure that planting can be delivered on that land. This often involves working with a whole range of agencies, including the Forestry Commission, West Yorkshire Ecology, West Yorkshire Archaeology, and various funding bodies. This can be very frustrating, both for our officers and partner organisations, and it needs to be addressed by central government. So, for example, the planting that's taken place over a number of years in the Wessendon Valley, there's probably 90% of the work has gone into the planning rather than into the actual planting, and this process can take a lot of time. Until the planning process is complete, I cannot say how much land and consequently how many trees will be planted on the council's own property. What I can say is that over the whole White Forest delivery scheme, the aim is to plant about 25,000 hectares, with this equating to somewhere in the region of 3 million trees. And this is planned to lift the district's tree cover from about 15% to over 20%. To meet our local commitments in Kirklees, the council is creating a specific team to deliver this, as well as setting aside an initial £750,000 to kickstart the process and deliver on its aim to plant a tree for every child in the district. Our officers are also working in close collaboration with organisations like the Yorkshire Wildlife Trust, Woodland Trust and the National Trust to ensure that we support them in their plans to plant trees on other land within our community. Referring back to the early question about the climate emergency, the planting and preservation of trees is not the only action that we are taking in terms of the natural environment. We're also supporting our partners in the National Trust, Moors for the Future and Yorkshire Water to improve upland, where we're involved in supporting the restoration of many hectares of peat bog and constructing thousands of leaky dams to make this possible. That again will contribute really substantially to carbon capture, as well as having other benefits such as helping in terms of natural flood management. So I do think doing a lot. I think to sort of suggest that we're not going to be doing anything till 2021 is really misleading. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Walker. Question 5 from James Taylor to Councillor Peter McBride. Andrea, do you want to read the question, please?
At a previous Cabinet meeting, I asked about the public feedback that hadn't been published on the planned improvements at Cooper Bridge, and Councillor McBride said in that meeting that plans had been mothballed. On Monday, I read in the Examiner an article by Tony Earnshaw that Richard Hollinson, a senior officer at Kirklees, said all options remain on the table. Therefore, who is right and who is wrong and actually runs the council, the elected Labour Cabinet or the unelected officers?
Okay.
Councillor Peter McBride, one please.
My original reply reflected the fact that proposals which might include taking trees from the ancient needed to be reconsidered. Alternative options subsequently are being developed by officers. The outcome of this process will itself be subject to public consultation. So it was always intended we were going back to the drawing board. That was about 2.5 months ago, and now those options are being considered. When they are brought forward, they will be brought forward to this cabinet, and there will be further public consultation. So I think the whole process is quite self-evident.
Thank you, Peter McBride. Question 6 from James again to Councillor Turner. Andrea, can we have the question, please?
With the delayed local elections due to take place in May 2021, has Kirklees done any work on the possibility that the way the electorate vote in May may be different from the norm? For example, I have a postal vote and Kirklees have my signature, so they can check that it is I who casted the vote. If we end up with an all-out postal election, how can each vote be verified when Kirklees don't have everyone's signature on their systems?
Councillor Turner.
Yeah, Chair, thank you. Thank you, James, for this question, which is obviously quite topical. The government's position at present is that the elections to be held in May 2021 will not be all postal. For all postal elections to be held, it would require a change in legislation. Anyone applying for a postal vote will have their signatures registered on the council's database, just the same as in previous years. Anyone who wishes to vote by post may apply for a postal vote up to 11 working days before an election. And given the uncertainties around the current pandemic, I would like to take this opportunity to encourage all residents to apply for postal votes. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Graham Turner. Question 7 from James again to Councillor Turner. Question 7, please.
As requested in one of the many emails I received from Kirklees Together, I recently completed several questionnaires on recycling, planning issues and museums. How are these questionnaires made up? Are they done in-house or subcontracted out? And who decides on the questions? For example, do cabinets sign it off?
Okay, once again, thank you, James, for the question. Again, very topical. There seems to be a number of consultations running at the moment. And we're always grateful to everyone who makes the time to comment and take part in our surveys. Listening to people through questionnaires and other feedback methods is really important in helping us understand the local views, helping us ensure decisions are informed by local insights. When we do a consultation, we use a variety of methods. Sometimes we use external companies to run them, and other times they are in fact developed in-house. For an example, when we did the libraries consultation, we used an external company, as we were very aware that this would attract a large number of respondents, and our officers would not have been able to deal with the cope with the amount of responses, nor did we have the expertise to collate the level of responses we expected. The questions in that consultation were suggested by the company, but were then modified following discussion with senior officers within the library service and myself. Only when we were happy with those questions did we proceed with that consultation. From my experience, portfolio holders work in conjunction with officers to develop the questions before any consultation is launched. Consultations are not required to be signed off formally by Cabinet. The information gathered from these consultations is quite often used to inform and sometimes enlighten portfolio holders and officers prior to publishing reports that then require a Cabinet decision. Not all consultations are required for specific reports. Some are used simply to gather general intelligence and information that is then used by the council to plan for the future and the level of services we have to provide and where they may actually be needed within the Kirklees Borough. Our aim is to be inclusive and to make the best decisions we can, and the feedback we get from residents is very much part of this process. So James, please keep contributing.
Chair, sorry, your microphone's muted.
Final question from Richard Stowe to Councillor Mather. Andrea, can you please read the question?
Thanks, Chair. Kirklees Council is the lead council for the White Rose Forest. The White Rose Forest is the lead forest for the Northern Forest and Community Forest Trust. Kirklees Council, through White Rose Forest, is seeking multi-million-pound funding to be the lead body for national reforestation delivery. Kirklees Council has sought the responsibility to lead delivery of the national reforestation policy. We face a climate emergency right now. We are 6 weeks into planting season with little to show. Please deliver.
Councillor Mather, please can you respond?
Yes. Before I start, thank you very much, Richard. This is a question which Councillor Walker has actually responded to, but I don't mind doing it again. So obviously the Council is fully committed to its White Rose Forest targets and is in the process of this year arranging for the planting of 18 hectares, 14,000 trees, and has already planted 19,000 trees in this calendar year. This has been significantly impacted by COVID and the restrictions on the use of volunteers and voluntary organisations. The process of large-scale tree planting is not simple. It requires multiple permissions, even if the land is readily available to do it. Officers have been working hard on this, identifying council land that can be made available and working to ensure that planting can be delivered on that land, which involves a range of agencies, including the Forestry Commission, the Rural Agency, West Yorkshire Archaeology, West Yorkshire Ecology, the Sports Council, as well as various other funding bodies. Until this process is complete, I cannot say how much land and consequently how many trees will be planted on the council's own property. But what I can say, over the arc of the White Horse Forest delivery schedule, the aim is to plant around 2,500 hectares, with this equating to somewhere in the region of 3 million trees. This will lift the district percentage tree cover from around 15 to over 20% cover. To meet this commitment, the council is creating a specific team to deliver this, as well as setting aside the initial £750,000 to pump prime the process and deliver, as Councillor Walker has said, on its aim to plant a tree for every child in the district under climate emergency. The officers are also working in close collaboration with organisations like the Yorkshire Wildlife Trust and the National Trust to ensure that both the works undertaken are in harmony with their delivery, but also to work with communities to embed the ideas around landscape level changes and interventions and get communities to help with this. I refer to the earlier question about climate emergency. The planting of trees is not the only option, but forms part of a much wider response requiring everybody to work together to reduce their environmental footprint, to consider resource scarcity and the ways they can support a sustainable future. That said, the knowledge around trees and woodland creation is a perfect vehicle to enhance understanding about the wider issues and potential impacts if we don't respond both in timely and in significant fashion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mather. We've come to the end of public question time. Now we move on to item 7, which is questions by elected members. First question to Councillor Martin Ball. Martin, over to you.
Thank you. Question for yourself, Leader. Yourself and the Cabinet agree to abide by the Nolan principles, the 7 principles in public life, which include openness, honesty and leadership. We heard it in the public question in response to a question to Sarah Newton. Councillor McBride said that the options put forward for public consultation on the Cooper Bridge scheme had been withdrawn. That was a matter of a quarter of an hour ago. The statement from your own officers categorically says, at this point in time, no formal decision has been taken to eliminate any of the options delivered to date. Who is correct?
Thank you, Martin. It's always good to hear you. It's always good to get a question from you. But you're right. We all have to follow the principles of public conduct. But having said that, we are also humans, and we also have our own opinions. I think what Councillor Peter McBride said was, in my view, what information he had, and he's been very, very clear that he has actually gave his own opinion. But as far as the due process is, we are still looking at all the options. So I think we need to move forward from there, Martin. I think you've made the point. You've made the point in the past, and these were opinions. And the consultation process will continue, and we need to actually then pull together and get the maximum resources for Kirklees. The bid will go to Wicker in the form of a business case, and then we need to actually make sure that the best best option is presented and fought for, that provides the best possible outcome for our great public. Thanks.
Thank you, and thank you for that clarity. And again, for the absolute clarity, as you said, it is Councillor McBride's opinion on the options. Cabinet have not taken a decision to withdraw it. So on the 20th of October in Cabinet, when Councillor McBride said subsequent to that, we learned that in order to achieve the other objective, we would have to knock down half of woodland. We decided, at least at my instigation, that we would not do that because of the loss of trees was just unacceptable. Therefore, it was back to the drawing board. That was a statement that was made on the 20th of October, and apart from your comment today, has not been countermanded. Cabinet makes collective decisions. So again, for absolute clarity, all options are still on the table for the Cooper Bridge Relief Road, and all options are being considered.
Yeah, like I said, Martin, right, these were opinions that were expressed by Councillor Peter McBride. I'm sorry if you misunderstood them, and for clarity purposes, we are still going through a process. And as politicians, right? Yeah, we're not robots. We are entitled to our public opinions, and until we get a full set of proposals forwarded and in black and white, we can all express opinions. And I don't think that Peter did anything untoward. He just operated as a human being, which we are. We are human beings.
Thank you. In the absence of anybody else, then the Cabinet have launched another consultation exercise. This time, a £2.4 million project to link Brighouse to Bradley. What strategic aims are underpinning this project, and will the consultation findings on this occasion be brought back to a public Cabinet meeting for consideration?
I'll bring Councillor Peter McBride. Peter, can you please answer? Of
course, it's be brought back to the council. Changes of such magnitude, obviously, at all stages, are brought back for reconsideration, and indeed will be brought back to the to West Yorkshire and ultimately to the Transport Committee, of which you're a part. So this will be totally subject to scrutiny and public control by councillors at all levels. So I don't need any worry on those counts, Martin.
Thank you.
Thank you, Peter.
Supplement. To be clear, I wasn't talking about the Cooper Bridge. I was talking about the Brighouse to Bradley scheme, which is a £2.4 million scheme, totally separate. But considering that the £2.4 million scheme runs along the same route alignment as the Cooper Bridge scheme, which we've just learned all options are still on the table, don't you consider that having two routes on the same alignment, probably conflicting with each other, not where the different teams are working upon them, is not in the best interest of governance?
I think the simple point, Martin, is when scheme was withdrawn, which would have involved knocking down huge numbers of trees, which I think was a very sensible decision, and which I think my cabinet colleagues fully endorse, that inevitably you were back to the drawing board and would have to consider a range of different alternatives which would affect transport movements in that area. All of that will be brought forward to explain what is going to be proposed, because you can't sort of pull a scheme of that size without having significant ramifications, which you well appreciate as I do. So it was a very conscious decision to say we're going to look at that whole configuration of schemes and how it will affect different areas.
Thank you.
I think there's some confusion, and again I say I wasn't talking about Cooper Bridge, Peter. The scheme you were still talking
of roads in and around those junctions, which are an alternative to disperse the traffic in different directions. The way in which one might do that will be altered by virtue of taking out
there is usually an understanding that somebody can ask a question before somebody tries to answer the wrong one. I was talking about the £2.4 million Bradley to Brighouse Greenway, which runs along the same alignment. Clearly you don't understand that that's the situation, but again, for the record, Shabir, Councillor McBride said when the scheme was withdrawn, talking about Cooper Bridge, and that cabinet colleagues all supported the decision. How can you have a decision and a withdrawal when it's only an opinion?
Can I explain something? Martin, I've explained for your first two questions, and I hope we can draw a line. I don't want to keep on sort of like going over something like where I've made it very, very clear what the situation was. If you've got another question, please fire away.
Thank you. Yeah, I fully understand what you said. It's a pity that the deputy leader doesn't. Does the cabinet, and a question to you, Shabir, does the cabinet support the local plan and agree that the first principle of any development should be that it conforms with and supports the local plan?
Yes, we've got to follow due process, whatever we do.
No, it's not due process. Do you support the local plan?
The local plan has already been agreed and done and dusted. That's all been done.
Thank you. So in that case, why is the cabinet supporting the Bradley to Brighouse Greenway, the route of which does not follow that which has been approved in the local plan?
Martin, we are still at very early stages. We have got a number of options that are being developed. The details will always be developed, not just on this scheme, but there's also a number of other schemes. And until we get all the preferred options on the table and we go through a proper consultation process, I can't really comment.
Supplementary, you should be able to comment, because the Bradley to Brighouse Greenway, the £2.4 million scheme that's currently out for consultation, only has one route. So it's not a question of there are options to consider. There is only one option that's been put to the public, and it is not on a route alignment which was saved in the local plan. So therefore the cabinet proposal is contrary to the local plan.
Councillor Peter McBride, Peter, can you just try and explain the situation? Because I think that's what we've been trying to explain the situation, but Martin won't understand.
That scheme was pulled, Martin. All its configurations had to be rethought, as you well know, and currently they are, and all of that will be brought together in a clear process which you will be party to, which you'll have a perfect opportunity to make your comments about. So we look forward to that when the alternatives are being proposed. Currently, they're not.
Again, for the absolute clarity then, seeing as we were talking about the Bradley to Brighouse Greenway and what Peter's just said, the scheme has been pulled. The Bradley to Brighouse Greenway, you just said it's been pulled.
I said all of this proposal has made us think about development in and around that area quite fundamentally. The details of this will be brought back to Cabinet, which will allow in turn you and others to consider whether or not the revised proposals are acceptable. And all of that will be before you in a formal paper, but not yet. Currently, officers are rethinking what might be brought forward.
I hope that clarifies it, Martin, because I'm clear.
Good. Well, If you're clear about the Bradley to Brighouse Greenway, then I'm sure everybody's happy.
No, in terms of the process, right? Yeah, I don't know the detail, and I don't pretend to know the detail. But I think what Peter's trying to explain, he makes completely good sense.
Well, it seems strange consulting on something when you're saying that
we're not consulting on it yet.
Yeah, I'm sorry, leader.
Yet.
Would you like me to send you?
When there is a proposal.
Would you like me to send you the consultation details for the Bradley to Brighouse Greenway, which goes through the Ashbrow ward?
Yes, do that. Send me what have you got, and then I'll have a look.
I will do it because it's come out from your council. But
yeah.
moving on.
Yes.
Moving on. Thank you. I've got a press clipping from the 23rd of December 2014 when a cabinet member, Peter McBride, said that the future of Dewsbury lies with the relief road. He was referring to a relief road for Ravensthorpe, which is in the pipeline, but it could be 2025 before it is finished. If the future of Dewsbury lies with the relief road that was due to be finished in 2025, when's it going to start?
Peter, do you want to answer that question?
The proposal for a relief road is currently under reconsideration. What we were talking about in 2014 is very different from what we're now talking about. We will bring that relief road alternative forward. There is already a scheme to improve the main routeway, which is one means of relieving that road. The other is an alternative route which would go through Ravensthorpe, and whether or not that scheme is brought forward is still to be determined. But a major part of the improvements and relief is already determined, as you well know.
Thank you.
Martin?
Yeah, because in the same newspaper report, it did in fact say that another project due to be completed by 2021 will include improvements to the Dewsbury to Leeds corridor. So the relief road was being considered as totally separate project to the Ravensthorpe relief road. So the two were meant to be separate. So what we're saying now is that the two have been rolled into one.
No, we're not saying that, Martin. What we're saying is that major routeway is being significantly improved. It means it may be necessary, and quite well maybe, to have an additional relief, given the volume of traffic that's already on the A644, and we will await the outcome of the total effectiveness of the reliefs that are provided in the upgrade of the A644.
So did the future of Dewsbury lie within the relief road, the Ravensthorpe relief road at that time?
The future of Dewsbury is dependent on a series of roads. These are but two of them. There are many others, and I don't think the council at the moment really wants to consider all of the necessary actions which are necessary to relieve pressure on Dewsbury roads or Huddersfield roads. We can have a special seminar on that, Martin, if that's, but
can I just interject here? I think, Martin, the way I see it is must have been when I was a teenager. There were some proposals that were put forward by the council. I wasn't a councillor then, way before I even dreamt of being a councillor. There was some proposal that put forward to actually get relief road from the M62 going through the part of the Kirklees that you're talking about, going through to Wakefield onto the M1. So basically, right, yeah, there is an aspiration of this council to actually do something there. I think we have an opportunity now because of on the back of the local plan, where we actually put in major economic and employment development and also housing growth development to actually do something special. And I think I'd rather spend energy on actually looking at substance, because I think the points you're making are valid, right? Yeah, but to get a paper clipping from 2014 or even before then, I don't see how that adds any value to actually how we're actually going to be addressing the big issues that we're facing in the future. In the future, God knows what might happen. You know, if all the futurologists who are talking about car and transit in terms of vehicles, there's certain predictions that have been made that the car will be obsolete. Even if we actually get every single car to run on, other fuels other than carbon fuels. So, you know, what we're talking about is very abstract stuff. But I think the key thing is that we've got a window of opportunity here. Let's try and get stuff on the table on the back of the big plans that we've got. Otherwise, we'll be just arguing about something, right? Yeah, just hypothetical.
Well, they're not hypotheses when there were statements. Yeah, there were clear
I can give you
statements.
statements, Martin, right? Yeah, from 20, 30 years ago.
Well, no, it's
does that add any value? Like, you know, there were talks about big gyratory that were going to take place in Batley Town Centre and all that. You know, the world that moved on is a different place.
Oh,
but anyway, you got another question. I've got Councillor Viv put a hand up as well.
Yeah,
Viv, I'll bring you in first. Viv.
I was just going to say, can we move on, Chair, because this is meant to be a question and a supplementary question, and it's turned into a broader discussion, and it's not moving anything further on.
Sorry, Chair, according to the agenda, it's questioned by elected members for which there is a 30-minute time slot. In the absence of anybody else, then I'm happy to...
No problem. I'm happy to take your question, Martin, but we're going over the same old stuff.
Well, no, they didn't.
If there's another question, Martin, this is no joke. If there's another question on Cooper Bridge or anything on similar lines, right? Yeah, I will not take them questions. And if you insist, I'll have to mute you. So if there's another question, please fire away.
Sorry, if there are other questions on strategic transport matters, you won't take them.
Not on what we've been talking about, Martin. You know, you're taking liberties. You're completely out of order, I'll be honest with you, Martin.
No, I'm holding the Cabinet to account. I'm seeking answers.
But if you're going to ask another question, right, on Cooper Bridge, anything like that, right, I'm going to mute you. And that's not a threat. I will do that.
Okay. Well, then reflecting to what you've just said, which wasn't about Cooper Bridge, and if you were a teenager in 1993, you must have had a hard paper round to have aged so badly. But you said that there was an aspiration for the M1M62 link road. Does Peter still stand by the statement he made that he will be totally opposed to that, which Martin, he made it in a public meeting?
I'm gonna now mute you. Yeah, I'm gonna mute you.
Well, I'm asking you something about a statement.
No, Martin.
I'm quite happy to answer, Shabir. The proposal that came forward at that time, which is something like 20 years ago, that was ditched because we, Kirklees Council, decided not to go forward with a scheme that would hardly benefit Kirklees. It did give you a better link between the two motorways, but it hardly advanced the interests and needs of Kirklees. Subsequently, we've come forward with a scheme which looks a lot like the northern route and one of those proposals. The difference being that it would have links into various parts of Kirklees. That is the fundamental difference. At the moment, there is funding solely to look at the possibilities of such a scheme. That's as far as we go with it.
Thank you. I'm going to have to stop you as well. If there's another question, Martin, on anything else, we've got 20 items on the agenda. A lot of them are to do with mental health and how we actually support our community on mental health, which is really, really important. And I think we need to give that part of the agenda a fair crack of the whip. So, Martin, if you've got any other question other than transport or I'll take them. We've got 10 minutes left.
No. I'm happy that you're cutting those off, asking questions about strategic transport issues, which are of value to the whole of the borough. Right.
You haven't got any more questions other than what you've been talking about for the last 20 minutes, Martin?
No, I have questions about transport. I mean, and developing, because obviously issues which have just been said there. Councillor McBride has said you're working on a link road.
Have you got any more questions, right? Yeah, other than the transport links you're talking about?
Well, the Councillor McBride has just said you're working on an M1M62 link road. When will details of this be put into the public domain?
Well, I've just told you, right? Yeah, then preferred options will come to a full cabinet meeting, full council. They'll go through due process. You know, you are part of the transport committee, and you'll also be cited them. Right. I'm going to move on to the next item. Council housing IT replacement system, item 8. Councillor Cathy Scott. Cathy, do you want to present that, please?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Approval's already been given to undertake the procurement exercise of the housing IT system, and the finance is already reserved in the capital plan. We are here today for approval to draw down the 1.1 million for a new housing IT system. The new system will allow an interface across all the services, and in particular adult social care. I'm very pleased that we are continuing to put place and people at the heart of the services, and are taking advantage of technology to make a difference for our tenants and leaseholders. The proposal will help us to deliver a more responsive service. For example, through mobile working, and that means that people will be able to do self-service should they wish, but it also provide places where officers can actually interact with tenants that aren't that don't have IT connection, so they will be able to mobile working even more. Can I recommend today that Cabinet approves drawing down the 1.1 million capital to enable the contract for the new IT system to be awarded to the winning bidder, and that officers take all the relevant steps needed to implement this decision?
Right, thanks, Kathy. I'd like to second that. Any comments or questions from? Yeah. Andrea, can you take us through the roll call, please?
Yep, Chair, thank you. So voting on the recommendations moved by Councillor Scott. Councillor Pandor?
For.
Councillor Kendrick?
For.
Councillor Khan?
For.
Councillor Mather?
Naheed, are you there? Are you having IT problems? Are you on mute? We'll come back to Naheed. I think she's having IT problems.
Councillor McBride?
For.
Councillor Patterson?
For.
Councillor Scott?
For.
Councillor Turner?
For.
And Councillor Walker?
For.
That's carried, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Takes us on to item 9, Holme Valley Neighbourhood Development Plan. Councillor McBride. Peter, do you want to present the report, please?
Thanks. Yeah. The Holme Valley Neighbourhood Plan has met the legal requirements to move to public consultation. Kirklees officers have concerns about the clarity, meaning, and certain inconsistencies with Kirklees local plan. It's a view shared with the Peak District National Park Authority. The examiner will adjudicate and guide Kirklees how the neighbourhood plan can progress, also if and how it will progress. We wait the outcome of this adjudication, and presuming ultimately we have further progression, then if all these issues can be sorted out, it will lead to a referendum to in turn adopt this plan. But it's subject to the adjudication of the examiner.
Right, thanks, Peter. I'd like to second that. Any questions or comments on that? No, there isn't. Andrea, can you take us through the roll call, please?
Yeah, Councillor Pandor.
For.
Councillor Kendrick.
For.
Councillor Khan.
For.
Councillor Mather.
For.
Councillor McBride.
For.
Councillor Patterson.
For.
Councillor Scott.
For.
Councillor Turner.
For.
And Councillor Walker.
For.
So that's carried, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 10, Dewsbury Town's Fund Accelerated Grant and Getting Building Fund. Councillor Peter McBride. Peter, do you want to present that, please?
Yeah. The paper updates us on government grant approvals which support both the Huddersfield and Dewsbury master plans. The paper gives details of improvements to footpaths and cycleways, Wellington Street, and lighting in historic arcades in Dewsbury. Additionally, it will enable major contributions to be made to the cost of refurbishing both the George in Huddersfield and Dewsbury Arcade. These grants are most welcome and show how allocations of this kind can be added to kernels of money in order to develop the two master plans. So very welcome and very helpful, in developing parts of the total Dewsbury and Huddersfield.
Thank you. Any comments or questions from any members? Kathy?
Yeah, again, great news that this Cabinet's supporting its initiatives that it said it would. I think it's going to be a great asset as we move forward, particularly in these times that we're facing. That it shows that it's continuity of things that are happening. So I'm very supportive of this.
Thank you very much, and so much. It's great news. It's going to make sure that we meet our ambitions and aspirations. So well done, everybody. Andrea, can you take us through the roll call, please?
Yes, Chair. Councillor Pandor.
4.
Councillor Kendrick.
4.
Councillor Khan.
4.
Councillor Mather.
4.
Councillor McBride.
4.
Councillor Patterson.
4.
Councillor Scott.
4.
Councillor Turner.
4.
Councillor Walker.
4.
That's carried then, Chair.
Thank you. Item 11, Corporate Financial Monitoring Report. Councillor Graham Turner to present.
Okay, Chair, thank you. This is Q2 Financial Monitoring Report. As members will recollect, I previously reported that we had a projected overspend of 7.7 million. This has now been reduced by 2.2 million. So as we expected, we are heading in the right direction, and I remain confident that we will deliver a balanced budget by year end. However, we do have forecasted COVID-19 underfunded pressures of 3.7 million, so we will need some more support from government to fund this, especially if they are to keep their promises of funding COVID-19 related spending and levelling up the north. Chair, I'd just like to highlight some of the capital spending contained in this report. As Cabinet will have noticed, we are investing in several of our leisure centres. This will allow a greater range of classes and better access at Batley Sports and Tennis Centre, for instance, and should in due course generate extra income, which will offset the investment and generate, as I said, much needed extra income for Cal in these difficult times. Excuse me. We are all too well aware that in Kirklees we have issues with higher than average residents who are physically inactive. So it's important that we offer as wide a range of activities as we can, and that this investment, coupled with our current review of our working relationship with Cal, will hopefully help to reverse this trend. Sadly, we have seen that being overweight is a contributing factor in deaths caused by COVID-19. So it's beholden on us to encourage residents to become more healthy and to ensure that we provide the best facilities we can to aid and help residents become fitter and more healthy. As part of our commitment to tackling the climate emergency, this report seeks approval to purchase 35 electric vehicles to replace existing fossil fuel driven vehicles. This is anticipated to reduce our CO2 emissions by 88 tonnes per year. We will continue to invest in a greener fleet of vehicles, and as technology moves forward, I hope we will be able to replace some of our larger vehicles so that one day we will have a fully non-fossilised fuel fleet. Chair, I ask that Cabinet accepts and approves this report this afternoon.
Thanks, Graham. I think, firstly, excellent work done by our professional staff, our finance staff, in terms of how they've actually managed to keep afloat, especially on the back of the pandemic. And it's good news, Graham, saying that our overspend has decreased from 7.5 down to 2.2, but there's still some inbuilt pressures around COVID-19. And the 4 tranches of government money were really warmly welcomed. I hope that the government does fulfil its commitments to make sure that we actually get our fair share of money in terms of levelling up and get the resources. But this council will still be committed, despite the pandemic. We're still committed to the climate emergency. We're still committed to economic recovery and to become even more stronger as we move forward. And we will always put our children first. If we don't put our children first, then the future that we see won't be as good as what we leave behind. And especially at the time of crisis, we have to do everything in our powers to make sure that we do everything for young people, because they are the future. But at the same time, we need to make sure that we continue to look after elderly people. They've gave so much for us, for a better society and a better place, and we'll continue to put adults, safeguarding adults at the top priority. And at the same time, we don't forget our towns and villages, because if we put all that investment in our people, then we need to make sure that we create vibrant and prosperous places where people can enjoy. That's why our plans are still afoot in terms of making sure that we deliver on the capital investments. Recently, you probably heard about the bad news of one of the local authorities down south. You know, I won't like to be in that situation, and I really feel sorry for Croydon. We earlier on in the past, we had Northamptonshire County Council who were in a similar situation. So it shows that it's really important to actually build a very strong reserve base, which we have got. And as long as we carry on making sure that we work across the council with all political parties, with our scrutiny committee, we'll make sure this council spends every pound wisely, but at the same time achieves its ambitions to make sure that we deliver for every single person in our borough. So, Martin, you've got your hand up, so I can take a question from you.
Yep, thanks for it. And I welcome what Graham was saying about alternative power for vehicles and things like that. But taking it a step further, what is the council doing to capitalise on the change and development of e-bikes and things? Because obviously, if we can move staff around, if the staff are moving from place to place, electric bikes are a growing market. They have become a lot more efficient, and they will remove traffic volume from the road, as well as traffic fuel. Because, like you, Graham, I agree that we should be getting rid of old fossils.
Any particular fossils in mind, Martin?
No.
Obviously, the e-bike's not really part of this report, but I'd be very surprised if my colleagues in other portfolios aren't looking at the opportunity that e-bikes offer. Because you're right, they do offer a fantastic opportunity, especially in West Yorkshire, as we well know, that has more hills than flat land. So I'm sure that they will be looking at them. If they're not, I'm sure they'll be taking your comments away and asking officers to look at the opportunities that exist for us around e-bikes in these very hilly areas that we occupy. Because I'd need an electric bike to convince me to ride one.
Thanks, Graham. Kathy, you got your hand up? Is that an old hand? Sorry, it's an old hand, right? Right. Thank you, members. Andrea, do you want to take us through the roll call, please? I second the recommendation, by the way.
Okay. So, yeah, thanks, Chair. Councillor Pandor.
For.
Councillor Kendrick.
Viv, you're mute.
She's frozen.
I think Councillor Kendrick's frozen, so we'll go to Councillor Khan.
For.
Councillor Mather.
Naheed, are you there? Are you still experiencing problems? We'll move on, Andrea. I think she's got problems with IT.
Okay, Councillor McBride.
For.
Councillor Patterson.
For.
Councillor Scott.
For.
Councillor Turner.
For.
And Councillor Walker.
I'm on
For.
now.
Right, Naheed. Yes.
Carried, Chair.
Are you for the report?
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Thank you. Right.
Thank
okay.
you.
Thank you very much, members. We'll move on. I think Councillor Kendrick's having problems with IT. Hopefully, she'll come back on.
I can hear that. Hang on. I can hear that. Thank you. Bye.
Okay, item 12, request to support children eligible for free school meals. Councillor Carol Scott. Carol, over to you.
Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Patterson. Councillor Patterson, not Councillor Scott. My mistake.
It's the hair.
But you knew what I meant.
Yes, I did.
Right, sorry.
Thank you. I just lost internet connection. That's the second time as well. So I hope I'll stay connected for this report.
We can hear you loud and clear.
Good. Well, this report explains that we needed to take an emergency decision to provide free school meals in October at half term, just after the government's decision just before half term not to provide this important safety net for our disadvantaged families. So one of the recommendations is for the Cabinet to note that decision that we had to make. And at that time, we also resolved that we wanted to provide support for all those eligible for free school meals in future holidays up to Easter. The government now, of course, has done a U-turn and is funding a winter grant scheme to support disadvantaged families up until March. When this report was written, we hadn't seen the guidance that accompanied that that grant scheme, and therefore the recommendation that you've got at the end of this report does not now reflect the position that we are in, because now we have seen the guidance, and we are able to move forward with working out the detail of how we will provide that support over the Christmas holidays, half term in February, and then Easter. We're also wanting to make sure that families that are eligible for this support receive it in good time at Christmas, to enable them, in the same way as we would, or anybody else would, to provide and plan for the Christmas period. So that's what we are working on at the moment. And a report will come back to Cabinet to detail the way that this will happen, and the costs of that going forward. So the recommendation now at the end of the report should read the following, as follows. The Cabinet are now asked to, 1, note the officer decision that's been taken in regards to supporting children eligible for free school meals attending Kirklees schools during October half term, and 2, agree that the Director of Children's Services should be asked to submit a report to the meeting of Cabinet on the 15th of December 2020, setting out proposals for the Christmas holiday period and other targeted support into 2021. Following on from government's recent new winter package announcement for extra support this winter to vulnerable households. So I hope the Cabinet can agree those 2 new recommendations. Thank you.
Yeah, any comments, questions from any members? No, I think reports are very clear. Reports very clear that we will put children at the heart, and it's a priority of what we do. We showed that when we actually stepped up, when the government said that they won't be providing free school meals at the recent half-term break. I'm really pleased, however, that the government has now reviewed this priority, and they will now commit to providing children free school meals during the winter school holidays. I think it's the right thing to do. It's like what I said earlier on, that if we don't invest in our children, especially children who are going through so much upheaval in their school lives, being a young person at this moment in time, in the midst of the pandemic, is really, really worrying. Already they're actually suffering in terms of getting a stable education. They're suffering in terms of having some stable examinations. They're suffering in terms of employment opportunities. A couple of weeks ago, I briefed my Cabinet members that across the Yorkshire Number region, after furlough ends, there'll be around 120,000 people who will be unemployed. Half of them will be young people. So we need to do our bit to make sure that we support every single child where we can. And I'm really pleased to second this report. I've got Graham, did you want to say something?
Yeah, just to welcome this report and fully support it, and the role that this council has taken in looking after our most deprived children, in spite of the government's reluctance to do so. It's the right thing to do, and as you rightly just pointed out, we may find that worse is yet to come as the recession continues to bite. But I'm confident that this council and this Cabinet will continue that support for our children.
Thank you very much. Any other Cabinet members that want to say anything, just put your hands up. No, thank you. Andrea, can you take us through the roll call, please?
Thanks, Chair. So the votes on the revised recommendation presented by Councillor Patterson. Councillor Pandor?
4.
Councillor Kendrick?
4.
Councillor Khan?
4.
Councillor Mather?
4.
Councillor McBride?
4.
Councillor Patterson?
4.
Councillor Scott?
4.
Councillor Turner?
4.
And Councillor Walker?
4.
That's carried, Chair.
Thank you very much. Okay, now we've got a series of reports that Councillor Cathy Scott will present. Cathy, I'll leave it to you how you want to take us through this. There's a lot of reports there, so I'm entirely at your mercy.
Thank you, Chair. And I'm glad you're going to be patient with me. There's 7 reports in all, and if you don't mind, what I'm going to do is do an overview quickly of all of them. To start with, I'll just make a short speech here. We're still in a crucial stage of COVID-19 pandemic, and whilst we continue to do everything we can to keep each other safe and prevent the spread of the virus, we all have to ensure that we're not neglecting our mental health. This has been a difficult and challenging period for everyone, particularly now as we have entered the lockdown again and we're unable to meet our loved ones from our household in other households. COVID-19 has added to people's anxieties, loneliness in a number of ways, with the financial and social impacts it has had on everyday lives, and this is throughout the country. Local community groups and voluntary organisations have been a key part to fight against the virus, and their role that they are playing in supporting residents has been invaluable to us. They have reported a growing number of concerns for the mental health of the local people, and that we need to make sure that everyone knows they're not alone and they're able to find the right support at the right time in the right place. Given our community organisations have the knowledge and need some help to resource it, we will be there to support them in a crucial way, particularly all of our residents at this difficult time. I'm delighted that our councillors from across all the political parties have come together to support this initiative, but I'm particularly proud of this administration for the £1 million that they give to enable this to happen. This, in the long term, will ultimately save lives. So moving forward into each of the plans that have come forward, initiatives that different wards have put forward, I'll start with the first one, and it's a place partnership. It's Kirklees Mental Health Champions training programme to support a network. This is the 6 place partnerships. If you've read your cabinet report, it'll have them all listed down for you. This initiative is for 93,270 that they're asking for. It's for mental health theme budget, and it's outlined in section 6 of your report. It's to support training programme to support all the networks so that it'll help people with mental health. So that's the first one. The second one is Huddersfield Central and Huddersfield North, Batley, Berkshire, Spen, place partnership. Theirs is tackling mental health and improving physical activity from the front door. So their request is for £38,255. It's all detailed in your report at item 16. I fully support this. All these reports that are coming forward, I'm fully in support of. The next one is the Huddersfield Central Partnership, tackling the taboo. Now, this is one close to my heart, and I think it is a taboo because nobody really wants to talk about it. It's supporting women going through the menopause. The quest is for £42,947 from the Place Partnership Mental Health theme, and it's also outlined in the report section 6. The next one is Batley, Birstall, Berkshire Place Partnership. It's mental health initiatives. It's for £82,261. I recommend this report. It's in line with all the mental health, and it's addressing all the health issues and needs that are the residents of them areas. The next one is Batley, Birstall, Berkshire Partnership. It's to support the mental health well-being of children, young people, as they return to a school setting. And that's had a particular impact, and it's close to all our hearts across the wards. Their request is for 40,000 of the Place Partnership for a mental health theme budget, and I ask Cabinet also to support that one. The next one is the Dewsbury Place Partnership. That's Better Connected Dewsbury. The proposals and allocations, they're asking for 142,857. That's the maximum of their budget. However, I'm delighted to say that they've also match funded this and brought in other initiatives to the value of 155,983. So the total investment in the Dewsbury area will be £298,840. So and that's from opening up corridors of walkways and different mental health initiatives. The next one is Huddersfield Rural Partnership. Now, this is slightly different. On item 6, you will note that there's a category of different months that they were looking at for support. There's either an 18-month project, a 24-month project, or a 30-month project. I'm asking Cabinet to support them with the maximum remainder of their budget to the 30-month project. It's been agreed that the other match funding will come in from their ward budgets and also outside secured funding as match funding, so it will enable this project to go ahead for 30 months. So that's it, Chair. I ask Cabinet to support all these initiatives. They meet the mental health category that we set down, and I just think it can only go from strength to strength, particularly because of the times we're in. And again, I want to thank all the place leads in this that have worked tirelessly on this, in particular the officers. They have worked tirelessly on it, and ward councillors, because of the knowledge that you bring in out there, it wouldn't happen. So, and all the councillors that have been committed to doing this, and I know a lot more will go on and work even further in these projects. So I'd like to thank you and recommend these reports to Cabinet.
Thank you. Any Cabinet member wants to say anything? Naheed, and then Muz. Naheed.
Can I thank Kathy for a superb overview of presenting these 7 reports. It has been a long piece of work. It's taken many hours, and I want to, like Kathy says, commend the work carried out by the lead officers and the chairs, along with my councillor colleagues, for keeping in touch, for keeping going when we thought we were going round the houses. And I can't wait to deliver these projects, because I think we definitely need them. Well, we need them, the one I know best. So very innovative and much needed. Thank you.
Thank you. Muz?
Thank you. I'm in support of all the mental health projects across the district. They're all fantastic initiatives, and in combination, all these really great projects across the district will have a direct positive impact on residents in Kirklees and provide much needed help and support in the wake of COVID-19 pandemic. And in particularly, I'm proud that we, Almondbury, Dalton and Newsham colleagues, we're investing in the first dedicated local menopause support service in Kirklees, and this is a progressive and innovative aspiration. There's a general UK lack of services and support for people experiencing difficulties with menopause, and hopefully this investment will raise awareness, reduce isolation and give women the confidence to seek medical support and access appropriate advice. And I'd also like to thank the lead portfolio holder, Councillor Kathy Scott, for all their hard work, and the place-based lead partnership, all the councillors there and my councillor colleagues that have participated in this. And I know that officers have worked very hard and shown a lot of dedication and commitment and compassion to helping reduce mental health problems. And I think these projects play a crucial role in early intervention and preventing mental health escalating, and it will strengthen also our local Kirklees dedicated third sector as well. So, and finally, I'd like to thank this administration for investing 1 million in mental health during really difficult times. So it's absolutely brilliant.
Thank you. Anybody else? Just put your hand up. No? No, I think this is really some great news. Members will recall that we put this money aside some time ago, £1 million towards mental health. And I think the time is right in terms of the way this has come forward in the middle of a pandemic. Yesterday, I was actually at an all-party parliamentary group. I was asked to speak and give evidence on mental health and what that means, especially on the back of COVID-19. and there was a range of speakers. The all-party parliamentary group is chaired by somebody called Baroness Claire Tyler. She's a peer, Lib Dem leader, a fantastic lady. And the Royal Society of Psychiatrists is the president is Dr. Adrian James, and again he was a fantastic speaker. And one of the things that all the speakers talked about is youth employment and youth mental health, which is on the rise. They also talked about on the back of the potential economy and firms closing, there'll be a new cohort of people, middle class people, whose lifestyles are comfortable, who probably will face losing their jobs, and that will create another tier of people who will actually suffer depression, anxiety and mental health that could lead to further problems. Also talked about domestic violence and how COVID-19 and the lockdown has had an impact on families where domestic violence is actually on the increase, and how that affects young people as they move forward, because young people are very, very critical in terms of how they're developing their early years, and that's something that's on the radar. And the other thing that came out was the role of the voluntary community sector. We actually are quite fortunate that we've got a very strong voluntary community sector. But one thing that everybody echoed, who was at the all-party parliamentary group meeting yesterday, that the voluntary community sector across the country actually came out in a way that completely transformed services. So a lot of the initiatives that have been highlighted in Cassie's fantastic report, the brilliant stuff that everybody's doing, will rely on the voluntary community sector. Projections are from the Royal Society of Psychiatrists that referrals will increase by 11%. I suspect that that's actually quite a cautious figure. I think that referrals are going to go even higher. And one of the things I said was that this will probably be a silent killer in the future if we don't get our act together. And I'm really, really pleased, I really welcome that we as an administration, we as a council, put this money in before the pandemic came in. And we're actually on the front foot, because mental health is such a silent issue in our communities. And in many parts of our community, especially the Asian community, it's still a subject that's not talked about. So once we actually get into our communities, once we start talking about the issues, once we start to put in our money where our mouth is, we can only get better. So I really, really welcome this report. Thanks very much, Cathy, for pulling them all together. Fantastic reports. I'd like to second all the recommendations. We're going to take the reports on block. But I can see that I've got Councillor Rob Walker. You've got your hand up. Do you want to say something, Rob?
Yeah, I just for completeness, and to echo what Councillor Khan has said about the importance of this, and Councillor Scott, in the Lindley, Gurkha and Holme Valley wards, we secured the funding through Cabinet approval before the summer holidays in July. And we have undertaken a pilot project where we've provided extra counselling opportunities for children in both primary schools and secondary schools. And we will be coming back with a report on that. It has the initial feedback that we've got is that this has been extremely successful. We are in the process of looking to extend this, probably going through the procurement process where we're working with all sorts of different partners from schools and also from mental health services to look at what we think will be the best potential offer going forward. So we are hoping to bring that to the December Cabinet meeting. I thought it was worth doing that because the three wards were obviously missing from the list of areas in the report today. Yeah, okay, thanks.
Thanks for that clarity, Rob. Appreciate it. So, excellent report once again, and I'd formally approve all the recommendations in all the reports. Andrea, do you want to take us through the roll call, please?
Yeah, so voting on the recommendations moved by Councillor Scott in relation to agenda items 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 and 19. Councillor Pandor?
For.
Councillor Kendrick?
4.
Councillor Khan,
4.
Councillor Mather,
4.
Councillor McBride,
4.
Councillor Patterson,
4.
Councillor Scott,
4, with the amendment of item 19 that it's the maximum of Huddersfield Rural Police Partnership of their budget to be used, and the rest, that's for 30 months, and the
30.
rest is to be sourced through their ward budget and other funds. So 4.
Yeah.
Councillor Turner,
4.
Councillor Walker.
4.
Thanks, Chair.
Right, that's carried, subject to the proviso that Councillor Cassie Scott mentioned regarding item 19. Right, okay, thank you very much, members. We'll move on to item 20, but before we do that, can I just check that if all members have read the report, which is exclusion of the public, item 22, which is subject to us making a decision, so we don't need to go into private session. So are we okay with doing that? Thank you, members. Item 20, development of Southgate flats. Councillor Peter Bright.
Thank you, Chair. This is great news.
Development of Southgate land, not flats.
Yeah, this is great news.
Just in case somebody picked up on that, Martin.
It's great news. The sale of land at Southgate, the development of this former sports centre, and the huge investment by the university in creating a major centre for health studies. All good news. So our bit, which was significant, huge asset to us, so that the investment links this development to in turn the market, then to the George, and then ultimately the station. All along that axis, you can see development, and further beyond, you've got £10 million of investment on the Leeds Road. So these are pieces of the jigsaw gradually being put together. But university's own investment is massive, and it's great that we've got this extension of health studies, most relevant at the time. This could be a major centre for the study of health in its widest sense, not necessarily a medical school, but there are a range of ancillary and associated skills and developments in health which are being developed rapidly. And Huddersfield could be one of the major centres in the country for this. So on so many counts, welcome for the development of Huddersfield, for the development of the university, and the interactive relationship between the two. I'll support this 100%.
I'd like to second that. Thank you very much. Any members want to say anything? Rob, you got your hand up. Is that an old hand?
It was, but I do want to speak as well. Yeah, just to echo what Peter said, I think this is a fantastic development for Huddersfield. I think the current COVID crisis has shown the importance of the health sector. So I think in terms of general need within the community for more well-trained health professionals, the need for that is obvious. But I think this could have massive economic benefit to the town as well. I know in the government's industrial strategy, Leeds was highlighted in terms of one of its specialisms being medically related technology. And I think this gives us an opportunity to harness our expertise in the town in terms of very high level engineering and also sort of chemicals and but the biosciences. I think this could really make a big difference for the town's future going forward. So I very much support this.
Thank you, Rob. Martin, you got your hand up. You want to make a comment?
I was there before.
Oh, God. Well, I'm sure Martin will let you go first, Naheed. Naheed, go on.
Ever the gentleman. Go on. You can go.
He's a gentleman. It's a good job. Martin's a gentleman. Go on, Naheed.
Thank you. I just wanted to welcome this Centre of Innovation and Excellence, Skills and Development Centre at the heart of our town. And it's actually shining a light on the university and what it can deliver. And in relation to COVID-19 recovery, it actually enhances all of those objectives. So I'd like to welcome this innovation, and let's get started. Thank you.
Okay, Martin.
Yep, thank you. I mean, I hope this is a good move forward because, again, in terms of openness and transparency, reading the papers that we've been sent through, a lot of these things which Cabinet are talking to seem to be referring to the appendices. The letter accompanying the outline, vision and concept is shown in Appendix 2, which is something that we don't have sight of. So I'm pleased that the members who seem to have that, but on the papers that I've been sent through, there are no appendices listed. So I would like confirmation, firstly, from the Cabinet members that they have in their possession for the decision making today copies of all those appendices 1, 2 and 3, because that's the first part of the recommendations that you're approving. Yeah, if you haven't got them, I don't know how you can approve them. Going on from that, I'd like to ask whichever Cabinet member's been leading on this, for an assurance that there has been due diligence in this process. We've seen the university expand massively over the years, and that's to be welcomed. They're now probably one of the larger employers in the district. But given the uncertainty of educational finance, particularly with overseas students and things, which is a lot of money, is there anything in the contract or these unseen appendices that give a timeline for delivery of this? And again, without going back to newspaper reports from 2014, Shabir, are we going to be looking here in 10 years' time saying that this was promised and not delivered? So what are the milestones on this? When will we see shovels in the ground and see it come to pass? Is there an options appraisal for the use of that land, or is this just that the university were in essence the only people coming forward? Because it has been said before that West Yorkshire Police had expressed interest in that land for building the new divisional headquarters, but that was rebuffed by Cabinet, and I wonder if you could comment on that, please. Perhaps turn your microphone on. We might make more sense, although I don't know.
Yeah. So I don't have controls in microphones and whatever. I just
you have control of
people have got these controls. Anyway, Martin, without on a serious note, in terms of the appendices, as you know, you've been around for a long time. These are all part of the exclusion of the public confidential papers because they are all commercially sensitive information, and that's why we've done that. Right? But every single Cabinet member, that's why I checked. Have you read the papers? And they have done. In terms of our plan, you'll probably recall again, we have got a detailed master plan. All this is part of that detailed master plan. So everything that you're seeing is informed by strategy. In terms of due diligence, if due diligence didn't take place, this paper would not be here. We've got excellent officers, we've got excellent team, we've got a new director now, David Shepherd, and another director, Colin, who actually are brilliant guys who actually taken over Cal, who's moved on. So all the due diligence and the checks and balances have been done. And I can assure you that we will move as fast as we can as the process allows us. And hopefully this is just the start of that process, and we will start seeing boots on the ground or spades in the ground, like you say. In terms of the Southgate site and the police, that is something that officers were taking through the process, and whatever we see is as we see. But you probably are aware that the police have actually acquired another site in Kirklees, at the old Dewsbury College site, and for whatever reason they're not going to be moving on to the Southgate site. But again, the detailed diligence will have been carried out by our officers. Thanks, Martin. Yeah, Martin, are you there? But by the way, just remember as well, Appendix 1 is actually on the website as well. So we've got all the papers. But a lot of the papers were part of the exclusion of the public papers, which were all commercially sensitive. Anyway, Graham, you got your hand up, just a bit of a...
Yeah, just to reiterate what everybody said, this is a fantastic opportunity for us as Huddersfield and Kirklees. Fantastic opportunity for the university. Let's not be too negative about what may or may not happen in the future. We're on the verge of signing a deal for a massive investment with, as Martin points out, one of our leading employers, to create something world leading in Huddersfield. It's a fantastic opportunity, and we must welcome this with open arms.
Thank you very much. Have I got any more members? Are there? Peter, do you want to say something?
Just a quick one. You know, if the angel Gabriel came down, Martin, I think you'd be asking, does he have the virus? You know, there's a perversity in some of these questions. And I think when there's a good story, I mean, you have a magnificent ability to pour cold water on the most brilliant of story. If we had an antidote to the virus tomorrow, you would have a negative
contaminated areas. I would be asking. I'd be asking for the track and traceability as well.
Look, what it is, right, is, you know, if Peter and Martin, if you want to have a conversation after, they can do, right? Yeah, but it's been a good meeting so far, right? Yeah, you know, let's end on a good note. Nahid, have you got your hand up, or is that an old hand? It's an old hand.
It's an old hand.
Yeah. Okay. So I've got nobody else indicated to talk. Andrea, please can you take us to the roll call, and then we'll close the meeting.
Thanks, Chair. Councillor Pandor.
For.
Councillor Kendrick.
I can confirm I have all the appendices and I've read them. For.
Councillor Khan.
For.
Councillor Mather.
For, and I've read all the appendices too.
Councillor McBride.
For.
Councillor Patterson.
For.
Councillor Scott.
For.
Councillor Turner.
I have all the appendices, so 4, and I've even been briefing it, Martin.
And Councillor Walker.
4.
That's carried, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much, members. Thank you very much, Councillor Martin Bolt, for participating. I think you were the only councillor, so at least it shows you've got commitment, which is really good. I also like to thank the members of the public who came and asked questions, and any members of the public or staff, officers who are watching this webcast. I really appreciate it. This was the first meeting where Peter's IT worked swiftly, but we had 4 of my members who were in and out. But I'm glad that they're still with us at the end. But we'll get there, and hope to see you soon. Good night and God bless. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye, everybody. Thank you. Well done.